guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal, they're talking about movies, and you know they are really groovy. Two guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal, they're talking about movies, and we know they are really groovy.
Good evening. I can't do Vincent Price, but we have someone backstage. So we have both of your guys backstage, and they were doing dueling Vincent Prices, and I told them to please stop being so entertaining because they were not live on air, and I was depriving all of you of the beautiful moment. Okay, so today we are highlighting, of course, when you think of Halloween, you think of Vincent Price, and he did die back in '93, which I still feel like he was kind of always dead. So it was a weird experience, but he died October 25th, around this time of year. So it's a perfect time to give a tribute to the man, the myth, the legend. I found out something interesting about Vincent Price that I wanted to share, which is that his family came over on the Mayflower. So he's about as American as you can get. He came from extreme privilege, and his siblings were really into music. He went into acting, of course, and he has two stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, one for his film career and one for his TV career. Yes, he did a lot of TV. Of course, we know him from Mystery. I grew up with him doing that. But he also is a gourmet chef, and he had a very popular cooking show back in the 70s. And it's fantastic. You can go back on YouTube and watch it. He's very passionate about gourmet cooking. It's one of the passions of his life. But anyways, without further ado, of course, I'm going to bring on your two hosts. I think you're going to be very entertained. And hopefully they'll keep doing the shtick that they do backstage. So here we go. Manny Zamora and Rory Price. I think it's Rory Price today. Yeah.
And you forgot Egghead on Batman, the 1966-67 TV show.
Okay.
So, as you can see, I have my Vincent Price mustache on and my red smoking jacket. But of course, we need a little mood lighting, don't we?
A little bit. Very convincing.
Yes.
That is very convincing. Terrifying. Of course, he's noted for his voice, and he did a lot of voiceover work. He did a lot of narration, even in Thriller. And then his last appearance was in Edward Scissorhands, I think, right, Rory?
I
was that his last one?
Let's say that.
Let's just say that. And
I think his last appearance was actually a very terrible movie called Dead Heat, where he played Dr. Frankenstein. But let's forget that.
Let's just forget that. And before we get started, I do want to say he was quite a dish. Quite a dish. Let me show you some young Vincent. We always think of him as old Vincent, but
very
just look at that. Man. Very good leading man looks. Just look at those cheekbones. Look at those eyebrows. He's very compelling as an actor, so I can see why he was so striking early on. Okay, so Manny, do you want to get us started?
Yes, let's get started.
We were rehearsing earlier.
We're going to do dueling prices. Yes. So, welcome to our house of horrors.
Darkness falls across the land.
Yeah. To terrorize y'all's neighborhood. All right. So my number one pick is one of my favorite movies of all time, horror or otherwise, and it's the abominable Dr. Phibes. And yes, love means never having to say you're ugly, which is a riff on the love story tagline of love never having to say you're sorry. And Vincent Price here, he gives a very interesting performance. He plays Dr. Phibes, the titular character. Yes, Roland, it's titular. He plays Dr. Phibes, as I said. He's a doctor who is horribly maimed and disfigured in a car accident, and so he's presumed dead. But obviously he's not. He comes back and plots his revenge on the surgical team that he believes caused the death of his wife, Victoria. And so he and his silent partner, literally, named Volnavia, which is such a great name. It sounds like a Middle Eastern country, played by the lovely Virginia North. He starts killing off all these doctors and nurses in very, very interesting ways. And I don't want
Right.
to spoil it right now, as to how he does it, because that's half the fun, is watching him plot and then execute these incredible murders. And it starts off as a bit of a murder mystery as to who's doing it, and then of course you find out it's Fives and that whole thing,
Hmm.
and why and so on. His wife, which you don't see on camera except for photograph and towards the end, is played by the lovely Caroline Monroe, who I hate the fact that she's not actually in the movie as a person. You know, they could have done a flashback or something, but they didn't. She's basically
Yes.
here as a photograph of her. Um,
She
but
was just
anyway,
in a horror convention too in Atlanta this past
oh,
weekend.
oh yeah, that's right. She's still around and still just gorgeous, just beautiful. Um,
Yes,
and she did a
indeed.
she did a lot of horror movies as well. But anyway, what else? Oh, Joseph Cotton is in this movie. He's one of the doctors, and he's going to be the last victim. A little bit of a spoiler there, but not that much. Terry Thomas is in it, a well-known British comedian. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, it's a great cast, great story, and just a fun movie. It's very stylish. It's set in the 20s, so you get a lot of Art Deco and a lot of Art Nouveau set pieces and backgrounds and whatnot, the costuming. Um, there's a few leaps in logic. I mean, you kind of got to suspend your disbelief to see this movie, but it doesn't matter because it's so cool and so, like I said, stylish and so well made that you just kind of gloss over any little slips in parts that really shouldn't make sense. So anyway, so that's my number one.
That was actually my number two.
Oh, okay.
I'll put the popcorn away. Um, I'll be honest with you, it's a wonderful performance because, like you said, Vincent Price had such a distinctive voice.
Hmm.
And Fibes does not talk per se, but he is a genius inventor. So he has invented a little thing where he can plug into his neck and you can hear his voice come through loudspeakers around the set.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and he creates all these gadgets and things that help him to murder the doctors and the nursing team.
Yes.
And I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say that he does it with the plagues of Egypt. That is
Right.
the
Yeah.
theme
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
his killing these nurses and doctors. They're
Right.
very vicious deaths and a lot of dark comedy.
Hmm.
Wonderful film to watch. And Price's main period was the 50s and early 60s
Hmm.
in film. And then he did Egghead on Batman. And most people that ended up on Batman were typecast and they couldn't get cast in anything else after that. But
Hmm.
Price actually re-jump started his career with this film
Yeah.
because they made
Yeah.
a sequel to it, Dr. Fives Rises Again,
Once
which I'm
again.
sure we'll talk about a little later.
Yeah.
And he did Theater of Blood after this. And again, he was able to do a lot of TV and things after.
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful film. It is definitely one of his best. And not just for the fact that he's in it, but again, all the supporting cast. The look of the film is really, like you said, very slick. Um, they tried again with Fives Rise Again, but it just didn't have the same charm and allure that the first one had.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it does have Vincent Price singing "Somewhere Over the Rainbow" at the end, which is worth watching it.
Yeah. Yeah. And and also it has the co-star is Robert Quarry, who
Yes,
played Count Yorga in a series or at least a couple of films as well.
yes,
And he made a really great villain in this movie. And it's unfortunate
yes.
we didn't really see more of Quarry in other movies. I was watching. I rewatched it for this show, and I thought, he would have made an interesting Sherlock Holmes at some point, but I don't think he ever did play
Vincent
that.
Price? Oh, yes.
No, Corey.
Oh, I see.
I think he had
Interesting.
that bit of a look.
He seems more of a Moriarty to me.
Yeah, or Moriarty, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, to see Vincent
Um,
Price do Holmes and see him, because he was 6'4". The reason I
yeah,
know this
yeah.
is because he was the first actor I ever met in my life, and he was also the most endearing. I met him in
Yeah,
1984, and I
yeah.
got to stage manage his show, The Villains Still Pursue Me.
Oh,
And he also did workshops. Renee, he did workshops in art and in culinary.
Yes.
So he did, because he
oh, yeah.
loved.
He was a
He was actually writing one of his culinary books. One of
yeah,
his
yeah.
what's the word I'm looking for?
It's called Cooking with Price or something. Yeah. It's
But there
famous.
is
People make his recipes. He has
yeah.
dishwasher fish where he cooks fish in the dishwasher. It was interesting stuff. Like, I'm going to try and get a clip before the end of the show because I want to show people a clip.
Interesting.
It's really endearing. Yeah. Really
Yeah, I
great.
was gonna ask
Yeah.
if you were gonna have those pictures, but
Yes.
yeah, he was a huge art connoisseur as well, besides a gourmet cook. So patron of the arts. I think he painted as well, and he's just a
He was an
fascinating
art.
man.
He was definitely a fan of art.
Yeah, an art
Um,
collector. Yeah,
he donated a lot of art to museums.
yeah.
He bought a Polynesian totem pole. This was a story he told me when I met him. He bought a totem pole, wanted to put it on his front lawn, and his wife Coral Brown, who he met during, and it was the love of his life, met her during Theater of Blood, and they got married shortly thereafter. She would not allow him to do it. She said, "No, Vincent, you're not putting that in the front lawn." So he
Oh,
donated it to the Bishop Museum in Hawaii. And when we went on a vacation a month later, we went to the Bishop Museum. We said, "We'd like to see the totem pole that Vincent Price donated." And they said, "Oh my God, how did you know about that? It's not out." And we're friends of Mr. Price, you see.
oh no.
So that
Yeah,
was a fun time.
Cool.
All right. So my first movie was The Raven.
Oh, okay.
There was a lot of early movies that Roger Corman did back
Mhm.
in the early 60s. This one was probably the last of the they had a lot of humor in them. And it
Mhm.
showed that these actors, Boris Karloff, Vincent Price, Peter Lorre, and in some cases even Basil Rathbone, could do comedy. They could
Mhm.
actually do, comical
Yeah. Yeah, they were doing
comedy.
shtick, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, comedy shtick, exactly.
Yeah.
So this one is the best of the group. I think it was 1964 this came out. And again, Karloff at his best, Vincent Price and Peter Lorre together are just magic. They're so wonderful in those movies. Um, Peter Lorre he just had such a deadpan way of doing comedy, and it's wonderful. And Vincent Price is a little over the top, which we all love when he does that.
Yeah.
So and he's definitely good at doing comedy, and so
Oh,
I
yeah.
love the film. It's one of my favorites. Hazel Court is in it. Jack Nicholson,
Brr.
not his first movie. He had done Little Shop of Horrors
Little Shop of Horrors. Yeah.
before
Terror.
this, a couple of years before this, and he did The
Yeah.
Terror. Yeah, because well, here's the story on The Terror. After the shooting of The Raven, they still had a contract for another, I think it was 2 or 3 days with Jack Nicholson and Boris Karloff.
Oh,
So
okay.
they used the same sets and they made The Terror. They made it like a week.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Well, that
again,
makes sense.
they shot it with Karloff and with Nicholson for the days that they had them. Then they shot around everything else. And then they made the movie on a shoestring budget in just a few
Mhm.
days.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's funny because I just watched The Raven again
mhm.
in preparation here, and it didn't make my list. It made my honorable mention list, but probably because it was just a little too comedic for me. I mean, I like it. No, don't get me wrong. I like this movie, but it was just
I
way too
love it when they do
silly.
comedy.
And yeah. And I saw this movie and I saw Jack Nicholson and I thought, I can't imagine anybody seeing this movie in that time and thinking, "Oh, this kid is going to be one of the great stars." Because it was a terrible performance. I mean, come on, let's be honest. It was not. Why, yes, father. Yeah, okay. No, no, it was
One of the
terrible.
performances,
But
one of the
everybody else was
producers,
great.
one of the producers of all of these films is named Nicholson.
Yeah,
I'm just going to throw that out there.
yeah. Nicholson and
I think he
Arkoff.
was related.
I suspect. I suspect.
But he didn't catch his stride until the late 60s when he was doing things for the experimental production team that he got together with that did Easy Rider and Five Easy
Right.
Pieces.
Right. That's yeah.
And he actually directed the Monkees film. Renee will love this. He directed the Monkees film.
Yeah.
Who is the head? Are you? What are we? Who are we talking
The Head.
about?
Yeah.
Yeah, head. Just head. Yeah. Who are you
Yeah,
talking
Head.
about?
We're
Jack
talking about
Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson. He directed
Yes,
it.
Jack Nicholson and Bob Rafelson did that. Rafelson did that together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was in it too. In fact, you can see a cameo of Jack Nicholson in it in Head. It's supposed to be what it's. You know, they were on LSD. They went to Ojai, and they were on LSD, and really it was Jack. They funded Easy Rider with that.
Yeah.
Used that to
Yeah.
fund.
They were
Easy
trying
Rider.
to out-Beatle the Beatles, basically, at the time.
They were
Yeah.
trying to kill the Monkees the way Miley Cyrus killed Hannah Montana, and they
Yeah.
kind of succeeded. Yeah,
But
I have
very weird movie. Yeah.
It's
but
you know,
it's
if you're
fun.
on LSD, I'm sure it's a much different experience. But I wanted to show these.
Mm.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. That's me. I have a white dinner jacket and tie on because I was a stage manager, and in my hand is a folded poster. I wish I could find it. I think it's in China. A folded poster of House of Wax that I had him sign.
Wow, fantastic! And that's of course looks like that. But anyway, it's a different one. But then
and that was lunch the next day.
So who took these photos then?
These were taken by the photographer for the college newspaper, the Timber Chatter. And those weren't. Those are early publicity.
I know. Sorry. Yeah.
And those were black and white shots. I colorized them.
Oh.
So Madeline Mona said she's watching House of Dracula, black and white film. We're going to do that one eventually, and we'll colorize it on Big Monster Briefing Room.
Yes. And what did you talk about with Vincent?
All kinds of things. Just all sorts of things. I got to have dinner with him one night. I got to have lunch with him the next day. And he was just a wonderful, wonderful gentleman.
Spill the beans,
he was
Rory.
worried about his wife.
Details.
His wife was in the hospital having heart surgery, but he still went on and did his shows and his workshops. He was calling her every 30 minutes to check on her. He was such a trooper.
Wow. That is just amazing. What an experience. What an experience.
Again, it was my first experience with a real movie star, and he made me feel so comfortable right away. And it was just a really nice guy. He was the nicest man I think I've met in entertainment.
Did he feel like the guy you were seeing on the silver screen, or was he different?
Not at all.
It's the same guy, right?
Just a regular guy, yeah.
Oh my god.
Just happens to be a guy that did monster movies and horror films and invisible.
Just happens to be, yeah. Interesting. I would have been excited. This is one that would have gotten me excited because it's Vincent Price. Look at him. And it looks like
1984.
84. So how old would he have been? Because he died when he was 83 or 82 in 93.
Yeah, he's in his 70s there.
Okay.
And I'm
beautiful. 20. You're both so beautiful. That is just sorry. I'll move along now, but that is.
So anyway, Manny, what is your number 3 picture? Because we talked about one too.
Well, my number 2 is.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
House of Usher.
Yeah, there you go. The Fall of the House of Usher. And this is one of the early. This is when he collaborated with Roger Corman and American International, and there was a series of movies that they did based on Edgar Allan Poe, just like The Raven earlier.
Right.
And this is probably one of the classiest one that they did. Price plays Roderick Usher,
Hmm.
and this young man comes to the house, and at first they won't let him in, and then finally they let him in because his he wants to marry
His sister.
Price's sister. And he just was like, no, no, she can never leave this house. You don't understand the curse,
Right.
the family curse. And so there's a lot of back and forth about the curse and about, the Usher family and why she can't leave and so on and so forth. And it's a slow build. It's one of those, modern audiences probably would not stand for this movie because it nothing really happens. A lot of creepy stuff goes on, noises and what have you, and everything the happens at the towards the end. Then you have the big climax
Right.
and the revelations and what have you. But it's still such a great subtle performance by Price, and he has this ailment where loud noises and sounds, well, noises, and he has a he's very delicate as far as his senses are concerned, and all that. And the guy sometimes like yells at him and he's like cringes, and
Right.
it's just a great movie. And again, this one had you could tell that Corman actually spent some money on this movie.
Mm.
Great sets, some a few dodgy effects here and there, because it was pre CGI again, but still just a good little movie. I mean, I
Yeah.
really, it's one of my favorites.
It's a wonderful performance by Vincent Price. He doesn't have his famous mustache in the movie.
No,
um,
this is, yeah.
and it was mirrored. They almost recreated it when they did The Raven. I'm
Hmm.
sorry, not The Raven. The Pit and the Pendulum. I'm sorry, The
Fit in the
Pit and the
Pendulum,
Pendulum.
right,
Very
right.
similar films. Um, and Barbara Steele is in Pit and the Pendulum, which
Hmm.
is
Yeah.
she's a very exotic looking actress. She plays his wife, who's supposedly dead. Um, and again, his sister, he prematurely buries her in House of Usher. Um, and again, it leads to his downfall at the end of the picture, as does thing, uh, the whole thing about him and his father being the torturer and in the Pit and the Pendulum.
Hmm.
Um, okay, so that's your number two.
So that was my
What's
number
your number three?
two. My number three is, let me check because I forget sometimes.
Last
Uh,
Man on Earth.
The Last
Interesting
Man. Thank
choice.
you. Oh, see, Renee is saving my ass today.
Takes good care of you.
She does.
Yes.
Yes, very good care. I'll see that she's not buried prematurely.
I don't know why, but every time I sit down to watch that film, I just I have not seen that film yet.
Really? Last Man on Earth. Oh, okay.
Yes. Every
All
time I
right.
sit down to watch it, for some reason something goes on, I don't get to watch it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well,
So tell me about it.
um, Last Man on Earth, based on a novel called I Am Legend, which has been remade a couple of times. It was remade as The Omega Man with Charlton Heston, and then
With
recently
Charlton Heston.
with, yeah, with Will Smith with its original title of I Am
Keep my
Legend.
dog's name at your mouth.
That's right, exactly. But this is the first
It was
version.
all about the dog in that film.
Yeah, I think it did. And Price plays a man who he's the last man on Earth, or so he thinks. Something has gone wrong. People turn into uh, ghouls, turn into vampires, and he spends his day just roaming around, poking around the remains of civilization, and then by night he's out slaying monsters, and trying to keep them out and he thinks he is the last human on Earth until he meets this woman Um, and realizes, oh wait, maybe there are others, maybe there are more survivors, and it's just very atmospheric, and it they really do a good job of recreating. It obviously didn't have the kind of budget that the latter movies did, especially the Will Smith version. But there's still a sense of desolation and despair, and I really think it gets more into the atmosphere because they didn't have the budget than the latter movie, which is much more of an action movie and much more of a they made it more into a zombie movie, and so like the Omega Man as well. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, it's I highly recommend it if you like sort of
Also, I
post-apocalyptic.
wanted to mention, did Richard Matheson write that story?
Yes.
Okay, because he is also responsible for many of the scripts that Roger Corman did, that
Yes,
Vincent
that's
Price
right.
starred
Yeah.
in, and he
Right.
did a lot of the James Bond movies. He wrote a lot
Mhm.
of the early James Bond movies as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Matheson's been writing for. He wrote a lot of some of the Twilight Zone episodes. I think he wrote.
yes,
I think he may have even written for Star Trek. I think he wrote a Star Trek episode. Did a lot of TV work, and of course his books. I want to say he wrote Psycho, the
no,
book.
that was Robert Bloch.
Oh, Block. I think I've got him confused then. Yeah, Robert Bloch wrote Star Trek, but Matheson I think wrote some Twilight Zones as well. But anyway,
He did. Yes.
yeah, and he wrote this movie. Well, he wrote the book. I'm trying to remember if he wrote the movie as well, but he probably did. But anyway, yeah.
I wanted to show a little clip of Vincent Price. He was on Johnny Carson doing his dishwasher fish thing.
Okay.
And,
Wild.
and yeah, and I want to show this because, like Rory mentioned, he was also a comedian.
Mhm.
So he perfect, and he's just entertaining. You can't take your eyes off him. So just watching him play with fish is like hilarious. So, anyways, let me just run this. This is great.
Here it is.
45 seconds.
The dishwasher.
Actually,
Truly, absolutely true. Now, I give you my word that an hour before the show started,
it's true.
we cooked exactly that meal in this dishwasher on the full cycle, mind you. Now, on the full cycle.
The water and
Everything. Yeah, no rinse.
no rent.
No, and no soap.
But the drying and
But
all of
everything, the whole bit. Now, here it all is. There are our dishes.
And they're hot.
Now, they're hot, and we hope they're done. And I'm sure they are done because we've tried it, and it was successful. And we'll take a look first at the
Why do
fish.
you use a dishwasher? Just to
Because it steams and it heats, and fish is one of the few things you couldn't do, meat or anything
I
like
see.
that in it.
So
But fish cooks in only a very short time, and it really is kind of beautiful. Look at how beautiful that is.
now look at that.
Huh?
That has been done.
Yes.
It's all hot.
Is it?
How now? Yeah. Now you leave that in the
Yes,
whole
you leave
cycle.
that. Now, if you go.
I mean, it's like him talking about a beautiful fish, and I think it's really quite interesting. Yeah, that's in the book. I think
Look at
that recipe
fish.
is.
Wow.
That's one of his most famous recipes. But you can see his flourish, how his gestures and his voice. He's just an interesting guy. So had to show it.
Yeah.
You're welcome, everybody. and don't try it
Thank
because
you.
I am afraid to actually try that one. I think I might get E. coli or something. But
Oh,
Cosmos does not
Depends on if you
endorse
keep your
Vincent
dishwasher clean.
Price would not let you get E. coli. Come on.
because he's like a saint. He's actually in charge.
Yes.
He has
Saint Vincent
powers.
Price. Saint
Yes.
Vincent of Price.
He has powers. Yes, he does. Oh, and I meant to say this, that he grew up eating candy all the time because the wealth of the family was based on his father owning a candy company that was very successful. So picture little Vincent Price just like constantly eating candy. This is an interesting guy. Okay. I digress.
That's awesome. Well, I double checked, and yes, Richard Matheson wrote the screenplay for Last Man on Earth. So, as well as the novel. Okay, so that
But I
was
think
my
he wrote
number-
the original story too. Like you said, I Am Legend.
Right? Yeah, he wrote
I
the
believe
book.
so. I think it was based on his own story. Yeah.
Mhm.
And again, he is credited for doing Omega Man. He was credited as this original screenwriter for I Am Legend with Will Smith.
Mhm.
And yes. So, okay,
Yeah.
my number 3 was Theater of Blood.
Ah, cool.
As Vincent Price liked to tell people, who wouldn't want to be an actor who kills his critics?
Right. Yeah.
So he plays Mr. Lionheart, who's a Shakespearean actor, and his critics taunt him and say bad things about him, which supposedly leads to him committing suicide, but he's not dead.
No.
And again, we get a very kind of Dr. Phibes kind of revenge film here where the critics start dying one by one in crazy, weird fashion. Robert Morley is in it. Diana Rigg is in it. It's another fun movie in the Dr. Phibes vein.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's my number 3.
Okay. So my number 3 is the House of wait. Yes, number 3 is House on Haunted Hill. Um.
I'm gonna say it didn't make my list.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I've watched this movie a couple of times and I just don't like it.
No problem.
For some reason, I just don't like it. I don't like Vincent Price's character. I don't like any of the characters in the movie. I don't have any love or feel for any of the characters in the movie, but there it is. To each his own. Art is
Well,
subjective.
You offended him deeply, Rory.
I'm
you
sorry.
offended him deeply.
I
He's
call a
taking
spade
it
a
to heart.
spade here. I don't
He
like
wrote
the
the
film.
movie, Rory. He was in the movie. It's his child. He did it. Now you have to apologize. Go on. You got to apologize. I'm just kidding. But Manny did seem to take that right to the heart.
No.
Look at there you go. You got backup here, Facebook user. Yes, favorite Hanging Ghosts in Chains.
See, there you go.
See?
Hanging Ghosts in Chains. Yeah. So this movie starts off with it's almost like an overture, except black screen. There's you hear this woman screaming, ghostly voices, chains, what have you, and then the scariest thing of all, Elijah Cook's face comes. That too.
Yes,
and it gives you this
heads.
backstory about how he has this house and people have been murdered there. I think his sister-in-law, somebody went crazy, chopped people up, and all this stuff. And so Vincent Price and his wife rent the house, and they invite all these different people over, and he's gonna pay them $10,000 if they spend the entire night there and survive all the ghoulies and ghosties. But there's a twist. He and his wife pretty much hate each other. She's a gold digger. She is trying to kill him for his money. He may or may not have killed off his previous wives. She's like his fourth wife, and they all died under mysterious circumstances. So there's that, and then there's the guests who are supposedly strangers to each other, and of course Elisha Cook, who just looks crazy. and he spends most of the movie just drunk, and with these eerie warnings of, oh, they're gonna come and get you. That's the ghost, I'm telling you. That was not an Elisha Cook impression, by the way. And twist at the end, and as to who is actually trying to murder who. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's again another Roger Corman movie. No, it's not a Roger Corman movie.
That's a William Castle, I believe. Yeah,
William Castle, who was notorious for these gimmicks and things that he did.
Right.
And for this one, he rigged up skeletons and things that look like ghosts in the theater. And then at the right time, there's a part of the movie where the screen goes black, and all of a sudden these things come sliding out of the, he has the managers or the ushers or whatever make them slide into the audience and scare people. Um, and he did something else weird with another movie called The Tingler, which we'll talk about later. Um,
Yes.
and yeah, he was a showman, and he directed these movies, these horror movies, and this is probably one of the better ones. And
See, my vote goes for The Tingler, just for the fact that Vincent Price, again, the screen goes white, and he says, "Run, run for your lives! The Tingler is in the theater."
yeah, and
It's
they rigged up
Vincent
some sort
Price,
of
and it's his voice. And then they had Castle had rigged up little electric shocks in the seats
yes, yeah, exactly, yeah, that's what I was
to
going to say,
zap you
yeah,
at the base of your spine, because
yeah,
that's what happens when the Tingler gets in you.
right, exactly. It was just like this little joy buzzers or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, I had them rigged up and not all of them, but a lot of the seats, and they were like, people were screaming and carrying on.
The Tingler is loose in the theater. Oh, and then they had the little shadow of the Tingler going across the white screen.
Yeah,
That's great. That's
I
awesome.
mean, that's, nobody would dare do anything like that nowadays. I mean, it's just too, the liability alone for the theater
Yes.
would just cause controversy. So, but the 50s, nobody cared. People will get
Number
trampled.
4?
All right, so my number 4 is oh, help me out, Renee. Thank you.
Theater of Blood.
Actually, that was number 5. Was that number 5?
House
Oh,
on Haunted Hill. That's Me on Earth. House
are
Crasher.
we at number 5 already? Okay, well,
Oh,
Theater of Blood. Yes, is my number 5.
that's your number 5. Ooh, I
That's my
didn't
number
get my number
5.
4 out.
Yeah, what's your number 4?
House of Wax. Somebody
Oh, okay.
mentioned that earlier. Awesome, wonderful performance by Vincent Price. When that wax comes off of his face at the end of the movie, what a classic moment. It's actually a
Mhm.
remake of a very hard to find film with Lionel Atwill playing the artist character. And
Right,
it
right,
was one of the first films in color, horror films in color. But
Mhm.
again, very hard to find. I want to say it's Mystery in the Wax Museum is what the name of it is, but I'm not sure I'm correct on that. Horror in the Wax Museum or Mystery in the Wax Museum, and again, Lionel Atwill is the main
Mhm.
character. Um, and in House of Wax, it was a 3D film,
Mhm.
um, and it had a wonderful supporting cast, including Charles Bronson, who was Charles Buczynski at the time, playing kind of his Igor character.
Yeah.
Um, and Carolyn Jones, Morticia Adams, plays a wonderful character in it. It's bourbon and a cigar. I don't often review Vincent Price movies, but when I do, and uh, who's the lead actress? Oi,
Oh,
I can't remember her name. I want to say Phyllis Coates, but I can't remember that. And a wonderful score, eerie score. And it was the early 50s. So that score and Bernard Herrmann's score for The Day the Earth Stood Still basically shaped the way horror movie music would go for the next 10 years.
Mhm.
And yes, just a wonderful, eerie, creepy movie.
Mhm.
I always thought that he, as a killer and somebody menacing, he's basically half crippled. That he probably wouldn't be a very hard opponent to overpower. But wow, he's just knocking through policemen at the end of the movie during the climax, and
Yeah.
he might not get around well on his legs, but man, he can throw a punch.
Yeah. Phyllis Kirk
So,
is the
Phyllis Kirk. There we go.
yeah.
Phyllis Kirk. He would appear with Charles Bronson again in Master of the World with Henry Hull. It's an honorable mention on my list. The music in that movie is so wrong. That was the one detracting thing. The music just is too happy-go-lucky for that Jules Verne tale.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they were trying to do another 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Yeah, they were trying to compete with the Disney movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's my number 4. My number 5. Your number 5 was Theater of Blood,
Theater
right?
of Blood, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tales of Terror is my number 5.
Oh, okay.
Again with Peter Lorre, and in this case, Basil Rathbone.
Basil Rathbone, yeah.
The reason this one made my list is because of the wine tasting. This is a trio of Edgar Allan Poe tales, and the Black Cat is in the middle, and it's actually mixed up with another Edgar Allan Poe tale, where Fortunato, the wine taster, I think it's the Cask of Amontillado, I think is the story.
Yeah, Cask of Amontillado. Yeah.
Well, the scene where, and again, look, Peter Lorre is priceless. See bottom there, and Vincent Price and him going back and forth across the table, talking about wines, drinking wines. That scene alone is just candy. It's gold. And there's a scene where they're throwing Peter. It's a dream sequence where they're throwing Peter Lorre's head around. It's actually pretty amusing too.
Wow. I am ashamed to say I've never seen this one. I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah, you definitely want to see that.
Tales of Terror.
If you're a Price fan and a Lorre fan, definitely.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
One of the meanest characters Basil Rathbone has ever played.
Wow.
He's a lot funnier in Comedy of Terrors, which was, believe it or not, Roger Corman. It was Jacques Tournier who directed that one. Boris Karloff is, again, very funny in it. Vincent Price is really evil, nasty in it. He's really the film's villain. Peter Lorre, wonderful in it. Basil Rathbone is off the chain in that one.
Wow.
They keep killing him and he keeps coming back to life. It's the Comedy of Terrors.
Wow.
That would be my number 6 if we had 6 on the list.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, I want to say one last thing about Theater of Blood, and it's just a little trivia. One of the guest stars, or one of the critics in the movie is played by Ian Hendry, who was the original star of the Avengers, the TV show, and Patrick Macnee was his
predecessor.
Assistant. Yeah.
Okay.
No, he was his co-star, but he was like his second.
Okay.
He was like a second banana in the show. Well, when Hendry left the show, that Patrick Macnee was elevated to the star, and then he got all these beautiful women co-stars, among them, of course, Diana Rigg. So Diana Rigg and Ian Hendry were both in the Avengers, and they're both in House of Wax, along with a wonderful, like you said, Robert Morley, and a lot of other great British actors. And Diana Rigg spends most of the movie in drag, basically. It's this kind of weird hippie-looking character. But and it does have a very similar plot to Fives. So that's kind of why I did that. It kind of bookended my list. Plot-wise, it's a revenge story. Main character is presumed dead. He goes after a very specific group of people, but it's just in the details that it's different.
It seems fresher though than Fives Rises Again.
Yeah, it's definitely fresher than that. So, and there was supposed to be a third Fives movie, but for some reason it wound up getting canceled, and they just never got back to it, and which is a shame, because I would have loved to have seen, especially if they brought back. If it actually had Caroline Munro playing the resurrected Victoria, that would have been awesome. and she turns out to be some kind of weird ghoulish character or something. You know, he has to kill again to keep her alive or something. You know, it's all kinds of ways. But anyway, so yeah, so honorable mentions.
Yes. We've gone through a lot of them.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
House of Usher is one of them.
Oh, okay.
The Fly.
Yeah, that's one of my honorable mentions.
With David Hedison, who would go on to do Lee Crane on Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
Right.
And
yeah.
he was the first man to play Felix Leiter in 2 James Bond movies.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Live and Let Die, and then later on in License to Kill.
Right.
Hit the Pendulum. Return of the Invisible Man, I thought deserved a nod.
Oh, okay.
Again, it's not easy to do a performance just based on your voice alone.
Except for Price. Yeah.
And of course, the little nod to that at the end of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, where he comes back as the Invisible Man.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Pit the Pendulum was one of my honorable mentions. It just missed making the list because one, the performance of one of the lead guy, I mean not Price, but the other guy, the one who's searching for his sister, terrible. Sorry, it was bad. I like the plot. Barbara Steele, of course, knocks it out of the park as the wife who is not dead, and you know, and just watching Price go full tilt insane at the end, basically turning into his father, and you know, and that last shot of Barbara Steele and what happens to her was great. Did we mention the bat?
Yes, we're talking about Vincent Price films.
Yes.
Yes, that's what today's show is about.
Oh, you're talking to Julio. Yeah. There was the bat. I got to tell you about this movie that I just watched today, as a matter of fact, that I'd never heard of, called The Monster Club, and not the one with the. Have you seen it?
I have.
Yeah, I
Can I put the bite on you for $5?
Oh man, fortunately I saw it for free on Tubi. Vincent Price. This came out in 1981. It's Vincent Price. He plays a vampire. John Carradine, who had played a vampire, played Dracula in an earlier movie.
Right.
And Donald Pleasence. It's another anthology movie. Vincent Price, like I said, he bites John Carradine at the beginning of the movie, recognizes him as this famous horror writer, and invites him to the Monster Club, which is literally what it is. It's a place where all monsters gather. And there's these terrible sort of new wavy songs played through, these bands playing in this theater.
Yes.
And then
that's the worst part of the film.
That's the worst part of the movie. And then
if you can get past that, the stories are actually kind of amusing.
Yeah. So Price tells them these stories. There's like 3 little stories of different kind of monsters. I think my favorite one is about the monster that whistles at the beginning.
The Shadmock.
The first one. The Shadmock.
Right.
Yeah. And you have Donald Pleasence in the movie. Yeah. Simon Ward, Britt Eklund in this movie. And so always little interesting little cameo.
The creepiest story in that is about the Hume Ghoul, where the guy who's looking for
Stuart Whitman. Yeah,
Stuart Whitman is the director, is looking for places to shoot a horror movie. And he stumbles across a ghoul village of ghouls.
Yeah.
And there's a half human, half ghoul girl that he befriends. That's a real creepy one.
Real creepy. And you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me a little bit of The Wicker Man. You know,
Not a happy ending.
not a happy ending. Yeah, that was really the more horrific one of all three of them. The other two were kind of more tongue in cheek, but that one was full out horror.
Right.
And there's even a striptease in the movies for who cares?
Oh, I don't remember that part.
You forgot the striptease? Yeah,
I forgot the striptease.
there's a strip. Yeah, and it's funny because you see this girl, she's taking her clothes off, and then all of a sudden she's the silhouette, and you kind of tell it's an animated silhouette of her. I guess they rotoscoped her or whatever, and she's pulling off her skin, and at the end, all you see is the skeleton. So it's like a strip tease.
I can't. I probably blocked that out of my memory.
Probably, yeah. So anyway, I was like,
but yeah, try to
wow.
get past those new wave monsters doing those songs. My God,
Oh, yeah,
just terrible.
Yeah, the original Wicker Man.
That's the horror right there.
The Nick Cage one was just a terrible remake. One of the worst remakes ever.
Okay, can I just say?
The bees.
Can I just say, okay, it's very quotable. Julio, that was the understatement of the year. The Nick Cage one was not just silly. The Nick Cage one, it's a comedy. I don't know how it's not a comedy. I don't know how it was not supposed to be a comedy, but apparently it wasn't. It was supposed to be. But yeah, oh no, not the bees. But that's not even it. But there's every moment of it is hilarious. He's hitting this one lady in a weird, and he's just crazy. It's so stupid. I'm sorry, I never use the word stupid, but that was the stupidest movie. I hate that they spent a budget to make that movie when there's things that we could be spending money on as humanity. That was horrible. Yes,
now I have to see it to see what a train wreck it is.
Oh, guys.
Yeah.
Go to YouTube and type in Wicker Man, Nick Cage, Not the Bees, Oprah. And they do a thing where they fuse it together with Oprah doing something about the bees. And it's hilarious. Thank me later, guys. And if you haven't seen it, you guys just go out and get the Nick Cage version. It's hilarious. Just
don't
assume
spend any
it's a
money
comedy.
on it, though.
Yeah, don't spend any money.
Only
you
if
can
it's
find
free.
it online somewhere. Yeah, don't.
The woman that he punched, but it's a weird. Yeah, so Julio knows. He knows what I'm talking about. And then he takes the masks off of all the kids in the schoolhouse. He just goes around bopping the masks off of all the kids. What the hell, Nick Cage?
Wow, it's a Wicker Man.
Yeah. Anyways, sorry. Yeah, go watch it, Tanya. You're welcome. You're welcome. Sorry.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I had to respond when Julio said silly. I'm like, Julio, silly is.
They're definitely gonna look up the Monster Club.
They haven't made the word for what Wicker Man is. Yeah, Monster Club. I'm gonna watch now. I want to watch that so bad.
Yeah, it's free on Tubi. Just type in the search bar. Type in Vincent Price, and you see all these different movies.
Don't spend any money.
Some of the better ones, and then
Tubi or not
Tubi or not
Tubi or not Tubi. Yeah.
I beat you to the punch. I beat you to the Nick Cage punch.
I gotta say this, and it's not about Vincent Price, but it's about Basil Rathbone. When I was in junior high school, for Halloween or before Halloween, when our English teacher, it was the last class of the day, which was probably a good thing. She played a recording, an actual disc back in the day, a record of Basil Rathbone reciting the Telltale Heart. Holy cow! And it was just that voice, and then the story, and yeah, we all went home traumatized by that, but I loved it.
Vincent Price read all of those stories too. Yes.
Yeah, and then Vincent Price did, of course.
Iggy Pop did it.
The Raven.
Iggy Pop did it.
Yeah.
Iggy Pop read Telltale Heart. It's so he's incredible with that.
Iggy Pop and the Telltale Heart.
Yeah.
Julio, it's how does he do it? It's really not threatening, but it's insane.
The girliest punch ever.
Oh, okay. I thought like you punched a girl right in her face or something.
There's something with the bicycle too, like the whole every minute of it. Just
Yeah, I mean, this
it'll
this is
cheer
just
people
ripe. It's ripe for riff tracking. I mean, it's just
I want to
yeah.
talk to him. Like, I'm serious. If I sat next to Nicolas Cage on an airplane, I wouldn't talk to him about anything else. I would literally just be like, "Can you
Please,
explain?
Why did
You're
you
an
do the
A-lister.
was this just a paycheck?
How
Was
was
this one of
this
those paycheck
presented
movies?
to you? Like, who? What did they have blackmail on you? What happened? Were you
What the F
okay?
happened with Wicker Man?
Were you taking too much
Exactly.
Excedrin and the caffeine messed with your brain? I need to
Exactly.
know what was going on.
Yeah. I mean, I could have made a really good, really, modernize the story, bring it up, and then
Yeah,
really,
why
but
did they do that?
no, and
Not
sort
the
of
bees.
not the bees. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
you're
the
right. The
bees.
bite. Not the If you guys, you know what the best thing is, guys? If you go to YouTube and you just type in Wicker Man best scenes, don't bother watching the movie. Like, just allow 8 minutes of it. You could watch it all in 8 minutes. It's hilarious. He
There
goes
you go.
underground and some kind of I don't.
Well, there it is.
It will mess with your brain though, but you can't unsee it. That's the only thing. Don't come back and complain to us if you can't unsee him being
That's
covered
right.
in bees,
Right.
pretending to be panicking.
And just tell yourself it's only a movie. It's only a movie.
Not
That's
the
the
bees. Not the bees.
Need some.
It's like when people want to like be joking around, like if you're horsing around with your friends and you're pretending to be scared, that's the whole movie.
Yeah,
And then you're drinking
that's
too
great.
much, or like now you know how the kids are vaping, like the kids are like whatever the vaping is, I don't know what that means, but the goofiness.
Kids are vaping.
The
I
kids
think
are
the kids are
vaping.
the cool people. What's the other thing? Whippets. I don't know what a whippet is, but kids were doing
Whip it
whippets
good.
for a while. They were getting
Whip
goofy.
it good.
I don't know. Yeah, whip. I just think of Devo. Okay, moving on. Back to Vincent Price. Sorry, guys.
They were.
Well, I think we're done. I think we finished our.
I think we're done.
honorable
We can
mentions.
end on the Wicker
Honorable-
Man.
We're gonna.
We decided to do 10 minutes on Wicker Man, but
This is the Wicker
I think
Man
we got
show
through all of our
now.
honorable mentions.
Haven't you heard? We're going to do a whole a web series on Wicker Man. That's
Wicker Man,
that's
yeah.
the next. That's all we're doing.
Oh, we're gonna do a Nicolas Cage one. Don't worry.
Oh yeah,
Sometime,
we'll get to
sometime,
Nick Cage.
someday.
Yeah.
Oh God! Of course, we got to get to Nick Cage. I mean, come on.
Worst acting ever. What happened to Vampire's Kiss Cage?
Oh.
I think that's why I'm saying like
What
it
happened
had
to
to be
Raising
intentional.
Arizona Cage?
Yeah, raising it, but it had to have been intentional because it was that bad. There's no way that he saw that and thought it was normal. Like no human would think that was normal. If you go to Rotten Tomatoes, I haven't even bothered to Rotten Tomatoes it, but it's got to get like 1%.
Do it.
Do it.
No human would ever do that.
No human.
Yeah.
I want
ghoulish good time.
I want Vincent Price to watch Wicker Man and react. And we can't, that's the sad thing is that we can't have that.
We can't have that.
But we
can't
could
have
pretend to
good
have that. We could have like Rory doing Vincent Price and have him do a reaction show as Vincent Price. Oh, we've jumped
Only
the
if the
shark,
lighting was
everyone.
like this. Oh, that's silly. Why did he do that?
Mhm.
Hated it.
What's
Hated
with the
it.
bees? Why not bees? They make honey, damn it.
Why? Yeah.
What's with the bicycle?
He's taking the piss.
Taking
Yep.
the piss with the film, yeah,
Exactly.
paycheck
Yeah,
movie.
pretty much so.
Funny.
Yeah. I think so.
Could've do
It's
better.
got to be. I mean, there's no way that he thought that was good. That was going to be a good script or a good movie. So,
Well,
anyway.
thank you for joining us for the Nicolas Cage pre-show. And our tribute to Vincent Price, which was 80% of the show. Thank you.
So, thank you very much.
And for anyone who's coming in late, because a lot of people came in the second half, this is when he was a dish, which he was always a dish. To be honest, he died a dish. He's a gorgeous, man. And
Yeah.
here is Rory Penland, your very own, with the same dish. They're both two dishes. Look, beautiful.
Two dishes for the price of one.
Two dishes for the price of one. was great. I love it.
Thank
Just
you.
because I know some of the people didn't get to see it. So look how beautiful that is. And
Yeah,
you know.
And I got one last thing. I think the first time that I ever saw Vincent Price in a non sort of horror movie thing was when he played one of the overseers in the Ten Commandments.
Oh, I don't
With,
remember
Oh
that.
yes.
he was one of the and he's
Baka?
great. Yeah, great villain. And T. Robinson.
I still got to go back and watch Laura.
Yeah, see.
Laura is supposed to be one of his best performances.
Yeah,
I've got to go back and
that's
watch
right.
that.
Yeah.
But I'm just such a Vincent Price horror fan, you know.
Yeah. Did a lot of television. I did an episode of Night Gallery, which was kind of
Yes.
weird. And I think did he do Columbo as well? Probably. I don't know. I don't remember.
Most likely.
But
Excuse me, pardon me. Why? Which for the lighting?
excuse me, pardon me.
Well,
One
this
last
was
thing.
fun.
Yeah.
This was such fun. Yes.
I do want to
John
call out.
Malkovich. Just saying.
I do want to call out before we go that Rory, as an impressionist, actually physically changes himself somehow. Like if you look at him, he looks nothing like Vincent Price. But then now that he's doing generally. But if you look at him now, he has the angles. Like did you put on fake eyebrows too, or how are you getting the angles? Is like what I'm asking.
No,
Isn't that weird?
It's just the lighting.
You see that he literally does the same thing, but I don't know how you're doing it.
Dear.
Price has the
I mean, I know he's not actually Vincent Price, but I mean, like with
properly, you have to get kind of into the face of the person you're doing.
Like
so,
if you do,
when I'm doing beautiful,
right?
Yes, you
gotta do
doing that kind of a different face.
Yeah.
So
and then like
completely different. Yes.
When you did Jack Nicholson, you also change. Yeah, you see, I don't know how you're, but like I don't have muscles there. Like I don't have muscles here. How are you like literally doing that? Weird. But Manny's doing it too. Like when Manny does Columbo, he's doing that. I don't know. Y'all have rubber faces. I don't know.
Blubber faces.
Awesome.
Yes. This is all rubber.
Just call us blubber faces.
Your rubber face. My face is just like this. Like I don't have muscles here, here, and here, and here, here. I don't.
I'm sure you do.
How do you manipulate that? I don't know. It's really weird. Yeah, you're even saying it's just the lighting, just like Vincent Price. You see that? Julio's tapping into this. This is why he's the man of 1,000. You should be the man of 1,000 faces. I feel like that's more accurate.
No, that was Lon Chaney.
That was Lon Chaney. Yeah.
Man of 1,000 faces.
Okay, guys. Well, we have something secret. We have secret reasons that we're leaving now. We do. Two of us on this stage have secret reasons that we're leaving, and everyone will find out later. And then tune back in tomorrow.
What's our next show? What are we doing on our next show?
It's casual. We're doing it's casual.
No. Oh, what are we going to do on the next two guys?
Paul Gio
and a gal.
Sidney Lumet, the director.
Sidney Lumet.
Topic, and we're going to have a special guest, screenwriter and novelist, or well, I don't know if he's a novelist, but he's written a book on screenwriting. Paul Gio will be our special guest next week, and director Sidney Lumet, as I said, will be our topic.
Gio, Paul Gio.
GY, yeah.
GYO.
Guy Ott.
GUYO.
Yeah.
Gio, yes, Gio.
Yeah.
Like rhymes with Gio, the greatest car ever invented.
So it's GYO.
GUYOT.
Yeah.
Yeah,
GUYOT.
And he wrote the screenwriting. Everyone should go out and check it out. Kill the Dog. If you go to Amazon, you can buy it. Kill the Dog. You could read it before next week, and they'll be talking about Sidney's work as a director. 12 Angry Men. You've all seen Sidney movies, so that's the thing. Everybody
recognize the name, but you've seen the movies,
right? And I have no idea what was going on with his branding department or his PR people,
right?
But he's, I mean, incredibly influential. Like even if you're not a film person, you've seen his movies. So
At least one of them.
Well, okay.
at least one of them. I assure everybody. Yeah. So for Secret Reasons, we're gonna wrap, and then that's the next show, right, Manny? That's
it.
next
Week.
Monday.
Yeah.
We'll
All
see
right.
you next Monday.
Yeah. Thanks for watching this episode of Two Guys and Sometimes a Gal Talking About Movies. Be sure to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell to get future episodes.